believe that love is an uncontrollable force. It's a silent killer that shows no.
Say yo peace, say yo peace, say yo peace. How y'all doing, man? This is Swerve. First episode of the Say Yo Peace podcast, where you can get your piece, where you can roll your piece in the leaf with a paper with the crease. You know what I mean? Where you can say your piece. So this is our episode of just the introductory to what we're doing right now. Say Your Piece is a platform to bring local artists, entertainers, educators, motivators, inspirators to the platform to start talking about saying your piece. Today, yours truly, Swerve, will be the guest of the day. Hey, give it up for me, give it up for me. Yeah, so how y'all doing? How y'all feeling today? You know what I mean? Write in the chat how y'all doing, how y'all feeling. And we gonna get straight to it like we used to it. Man, I got something good for y'all. I got something called terms and agreements. We're gonna do terms and agreements. For all of y'all that follow me, might have seen my terms and agreements live on Instagram once upon a time. For all y'all other folks, this is gonna be a new thing. It's gonna be a goodie. It's gonna be something that's gonna help your life, gonna motivate your life, and something that's you're gonna need in this world and to experience. But before I do that, your brother, your other, your big brother, your little brother, you know what I mean? Your nephew, your uncle, Swerve, you feel me? Is gonna drink some water because it's about to get real in the field in just a minute. You feel me? By the way, if you have not liked or subscribed to Say Your Peace channel, please do so. Please do so. If y'all don't know who I am Swerve. I am an author. I am an artist. I am a father. I am a son. I'm all of that. You feel me? And I just came here to bring the people together and enjoy this, man. I enjoy doing podcasts. I enjoy listening to them. So it's time to start my own. You know, if y'all feeling froggy, then leap. It ain't nothing better than the time but the present to do what you got to do. Even if you looking scruffy like me on this first one. But I bet you on that next one I'll clean up right. I bet you on that next one I'll clean up right. You know what I mean? So we doing this Say Your Peace podcast. I'm loving it for the people out there. So let's get to it. Terms and agreements. You might see a term and agreement in a lease. You might see a term and agreement in another contractual obligation that they want you to sign. So that's what we're talking about. Contractual obligations in life, right? I read the book, Four Agreements. I forget the author's name, but you can look it up on Google, Bing, whatever your search engine desires are. The Four Agreements. In the introductory phase talks about what are you consciously and unconsciously agreeing to in your life. If it's abuse, if it's neglect, if it's people talking down to you, if it's living in a life that's living subpar, and it doesn't have to be negative. It can be positive. What are you subconsciously agreeing to every day to influence your decisions on a daily basis, right? That's what we opening up. A great book called The Four Agreements. It go into a lot of other different tenets and four agreements. Like, let's just take one for instance. Just be about your word. You know, keeping your word. You know, word is bond. So that's one of them. Not to gossip. You know, everybody is living a hard life. You know, everybody got something going on. So gossiping is actually lowering the frequency in your life to accomplish things. Even if it's just, oh, did you hear about X, Y, and Z did this, that? What that got to do with you, bruh? I ain't got nothing to do with you, bruh. You know, get your pen and your paper out, get your iPhone out, get your notes out. Start creating. Start writing down what you want to execute, even if it's one push-up a day. Sister, even if it's walking a block today. You know what I mean? Let's get it done. And I want to go into the other one, external validation. A lot of times in our lives, especially in this new social media area, we're looking for external validation. We're looking to be validated by a person, place, or a thing in our lives. You know what I mean? And it creates this thing of always chasing an image, always chasing something material that we can't obtain. And and we fall victim to actually neglecting ourselves because we worried about how the world sees us. And I'm here to say, F that external validation, because people gonna like you for whatever reason they decide to make up in their head. And that brings me to the next one. Don't make shit up. Do not make shit up. If it hasn't happened to you directly, if somebody hasn't inflicted harm on you, whether it's physically, verbally, or spiritually, and you know that, don't make it up. Don't create a story out of nothing, because what we doing is we creating anxiety and we creating this narrative in our mind that something is always after you, right? And that brings me to the point of psychopollution. Remember, we still in terms and agreements. And the reason why I opened up with the four agreements, because what are you unconsciously agreeing to in your life, right? Is it external validation? Are you making shit up in your mind, creating anxiety? Are you contributing to the psychic pollution? And psychic pollution can be broke down as negative experiences and trauma in our lives that everybody go through, and we come outside and it starts to bleed through our aura, holes in our aura field, and we either get into an argument with somebody, an altercation, whether it be on the street, whether it be in our job, whether it be in our family, over some things that's not even related. But how consciousness is and how frequency works, because you can see a person's aura before they speak. And if we're not checking our aura and we're not centering our aura, we contribute to the psychic pollution. Next, propaganda. Propaganda. Now, propaganda is so real because propaganda is a tool of the oppressor. It's a tool of war. Propaganda is making one side look a different way or being biased. Let's take an example. In the Revolutionary War, they created all of these propagandas against, I mean, we colonized anyway, so let's talk about it, right? They created all this propaganda against the new American colonies, right? The 13 colonies, and also the Britons, and it was making them look a certain way. Whether they demonize you, whether they big you up, but propaganda is the uneven distribution of your character, of one's character, or one's reputation to the other side. All right. So we talking about propaganda. What can be propaganda? We listen to all of these podcasts or these content creators that don't give you all the facts or are not delivering in a whole way. They're creating propaganda so you can think a certain way towards a certain group of people. And we also do that in our own lives. Like some people that don't like each other, they start to create and make shit up sometimes to make a person to tear down their image, tear down who they are. They're spilling propaganda. Okay. And that brings me to the next thing. Remember, we are in terms and agreements, right? All of these things that I'm talking about, all these things that we subconsciously agree to and we subconsciously do every day, it's about being aware and about being getting to be more evolved. And your boy, your brother, Swerve, same thing. I fall victim to all these things, but I'm here to highlight them. I'm here to give y'all a way out. I'm here to give a name to something so you can cast out whatever's going on, right? So we talk about group thinking, okay? Group thinking. All right. And I got some definitions. Group thinking is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when a group makes decisions without critically evaluating ideas. Wow. How many times do we do that? How many times do we hear something and we run with it? How many times have our parents and our family members caused us to think a certain type of way? Nobody in your family owns a business. So somebody, an elder in your family, spills some propaganda on you and say, well, ain't nobody owned a business in this family. What makes you think you about to be the first one to own a business? What makes you think you won't be the first one to own a house? You start thinking like the group of the family that's been working their whole lives and don't have a savings in a savings account. And you become part of that group that does not critically think out their decisions and evaluate their ideas. Now, if we critically thought about our budgets, and not even just our budgets, more so if we have control of our long-term goals, right? And again, I fall victim to this too. So I'm not just over here preaching to y'all. If we don't critically think about it, we'll be the next broke person in our families. We'll be the next spiritually broke people, physically broke people, unhealthy, right? Group thinking, right? It's a bit of ignorance attached to it, right? Now we talk about social engineering that is exactly like group thinking. We have social media. Just break it down. Social media being social, but how many times are we having fruitful conversations and actually being social? Right? Social engineering methods employed by hackers. This is the technical definition. Methods employed by hackers to gain the trust of an end user so that the hacker can obtain information that access the data or the systems. Wow. That's powerful because they're breaking down when they talk about social engineering, they're talking about socially engineering computers right here in this technical definition. And we can see that with AI. We socially engineer computers with AI, putting the information in, whether you're tapping a button, whether you're putting your name into it, but they're gathering information that's coming from your brain, your frequencies, things that you have learned, your experiences, your trauma, and they're putting it into one centralized location called social engineering. That's the technical definition coming from your physical and your spiritual realm, right? The use of centralized, all right, so this is the more social constructed definition of how human beings are socialized. Remember, I talk about social media because we're all being socialized by social media right now, right? We're all being socialized by YouTube, what we listen to, right? External validation, external factors is what we're being socialized by. The use of centralized planning in an attempt to manage social change and regulate the future development and behavior. Let me repeat that for you. The attempt to manage social change and regulate the future development of behavior in society. So when you hear people talking about agendas and people saying that agendas aren't real, I have to challenge them with the definition of social engineering from the standpoint attempt to manage social change and regulate the future development and behaviors of society. Because you have people at the top that are so-called thought leaders that creates a philosophy, spills the philosophy, whether it's in school, in the workplace, a workplace professionalism, or whether it's in school engineering or whatever you're learning nowadays in these schools, and they put it in the young people's brains because the young people are malleable. Their brains are able to expand. They're more open-minded than us adults, right? Can't teach the old dog new tricks. And some of y'all being tricked, right? Let's be real. All right. But it's to regulate the future development of behavior in society. I think the key word is to regulate. Regulate is to control, to make something predictable. Why do you think they got all these statistics? They want to figure out how you moving. They want to figure out how you working up in this atmosphere, right? Let's talk about it. Again, we are in terms and agreements. What are you signing your life and your essence out to? What are you putting your stamp of approval on every day, right? Confirmation bias. This by far is probably my favorite one because we all have ideas that we believe in. And quite frankly, are not, most of our ideas are not researched, right? Black people, we be like, "Ooh, I just feel it in my bones," right? Um, Other people just like, "Ooh, I don't know. I was just brought up this way." Confirmation bias. So you start running with something, and we're talking about ideas, and we're talking about concepts because everything starts from a seed planted into your brain that manifests into your thoughts, that manifests into your actions, that manifests into a triumph or a consequence or a learning experience, right? So confirmation bias, the definition of the tendency to search for, interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms or support one's prior beliefs. So it could be true, but if you only telling a portion of the story, right? Follow me? And you're only going to search Google, you're only going to search Bing for stuff that supports you, and you don't listen to anything else, the pros and the cons. It's kind of like being in school and you writing an essay and you just focus on the pros because that supports your bias. But you never read the cons. You never read the cons of medicine, right? Y'all out there popping that honey pack, you know, a little bit extra so you can, you know what I mean, get with your lady, satisfy your lady. But in the end, what properties, what are they saying on the other side? You know, you confirming the bias, like, oh, bro, this work. You know what I mean? And I'm just using Manex as an example. I'm not picking on nobody. Um, oh, bro, this work. Ooh, oh yeah, it worked because it's safe because it's from honey. But you're not reading all the agreements. If you never research the ingredients on the package and said, oh, okay, this can be harmful to me. I might be allergic to this. This is the long term effects, right? You create a bias in your mind just for right now, so you can validate, external validate your point in terms and agreements, right? Follow me. All right. I want to drop in a very special person that they don't talk much about in our history books, and quite frankly, education we are the new educators, right? They ain't listening to nobody in school. When I worked for a continuation school, a young brother came up to me, not listening to nothing the teacher saying. I was a tutor in a classroom, and he watching his phone, and he watching some good rhetoric, right? And he's watching it from another brother on YouTube. So we are the teachers, right? Because we have the access, we have the information. It is not controlled or socially regulated by the school district, OUSD, SFUSD, all of that, all them UDs, those co-opted, so they can know who the children are, right? So I bring in George Washington Carver, who invented peanut butter, and he said, and again, remember what I said at the top of the opening? Don't make shit up. Stop making shit up. Go research that. Know for sure. Know what you talking about. Or you know what I mean? You better off listening than making stuff up. You better off paying attention than making stuff up, right? It's gonna help you in your life. It helps you with your anxiety. Believe me, I started employing, stop making shit up. I started living more peaceful out here. It's say your peace, bro. It's just say your peace. And going back to George Washington Carver, now y'all might, I go in and out. What y'all gonna realize is that I am not a linear person, right? 2 plus 2 don't always equal 4 with me. It can equal 6. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I can go here, there, and tie it back together. That's how my brain goes. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? We're gonna go back to George Washington Carver, the man that invented peanut butter, and said the same price it costs to make a $1 bill is the same cost it makes to make $100 bill. What? This man is dropping jewels on you. George Washington Carver was a black man, and quite frankly, he was considered the first president because of all the inventions and all the technology that he was responsible for being behind, right? So he told those people of that time period, the same price it costs to make a $1 bill is the same price it costs to make a $100 bill. Yet we spend it at different rates, and yet there is different costs, and that is capitalism, because we are making shit up. In a capitalistic world, you can make shit up. Now there's this spill out, oh, capitalism isn't bad. All right, get your money. I ain't tripping off of all of that. But we making stuff up. So we just seen that China makes a lot of the designer bags that cost $5 to make, and they upsell it by 100, thousands of dollars, and y'all go out and swarm and buy it because it has a name and it has a so-called quality. But let me tell you this: China also makes stuff that comes from Shein. You feel what I mean? So what it is somebody is telling you that is worth something for external validation. So you can go to the block, so you can go to the hood, to your people, so you can see a female out there, and say, oh, bro, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, ain't messing with this. This costs a couple of bands, blah, 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 blah. All right, my little shirt, you know what I mean, that I got here and there for $12 cost the same amount as your joints that you bought for a higher price. Now, who's the fool? I'm getting the same amount of attention. Not that we care, but I'm getting the same amount of influence off of this that you getting off of that. I learned that in college. When I had a roommate that used to talk about true religion this, true religion that. That's when true religion was on, when we was wearing that. You feel me? And he was like, oh, bro, you don't wear true religion? I ain't never been materialistic. Because growing up in a town in the East, my mom and my dad, now they were separated, but at the same time, we didn't have enough money for stuff. I didn't get the new J's. I wore one pair of shoes all school year, basically. Might, if I'm lucky, at the end of the school year, get another pair of shoes, but they wasn't Jordans. Everybody came with Jordans. You know what I mean? But was they learning the material? Was they learning to have spirit over material? They was counting on something else externally to give them validation by the public, by the group thinkers, right? By the social engineering for them to be better than me. But what I counted on, because I didn't have that, I ain't gonna lie, I wanted it, but I couldn't have it. I couldn't get it at that time as a youngster. I had to have this. So a lot of times people would be roasting me, and I had to, either roast back or put them up. It builds character. It builds something in the inside. So that's what I'm saying. The materialistic thought process is being broke down by George Washington Carver when he says the same price it costs to make the $1 bill is the same price it costs to make the $100 bill. All right? Don't make stuff up. Now, my next one is intelligence. Now, y'all might think that intelligence is just, let's see. Y'all might think that intelligence is just the process of knowing a lot of things, break down information, and you'll be definitely right. Now, this is how, if you go to Google, Bing, probably Bing is your better search engine when you're talking about research, right? When you don't want to have confirmation bias because somebody will argue me what is intelligence. Now, I go to a source. It's still a source, right? Intelligence, the collection of information of military or political value. It ain't had nothing to do with how many books you read. It don't have nothing to do with how much science you know. It could. But in terms of spilling out information that sounds smart, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, what do you know? What piece of information that gives you the edge? You can be at work, and what people are doing is hiding information from you. They might tell you to do a project like this, and it might be coming down from a chain of command, and the director might say, well, I want it done like this, but they omit information, a piece of intelligence to you, what the military use, right? Because this is the definition we're talking about. They might omit different information, and you take it back by the person that's over you, giving you the directory other than a director, and they give you the wrong piece of information. You go back your whole project gets dinged. Your whole project suffers. You might lose your job because, again, intelligence, the collection of information of military or political value. And now when we're talking about military, we're talking about war tactics. These are war tactics for people to employ to sabotage you, to get you fired, because they omitted information. They didn't tell you things. Now just imagine the information that we do know, the information that your brother Swerve is giving you right now. It's going to make you better, not making shit up. Do not have confirmation bias. Look at a situation and an idea of all angles. Find that intelligence, that piece of gold that's going to get you to the other level. Because what people don't understand, and when you heighten your awareness and your frequency, and you start, it could be one word, it could be one instance when you paying attention that change your whole life and change what you're doing. But you got to be tapped in. You feel me? All right, let's go to the next one. Semantics. Y'all might hear semantics when people argue, oh, I'm this, I'm that, blah, 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 blah. And they argue and they're all trying to sound smart and intellectually masturbating on a mic, right? Now, that's what the Black Panthers Self-Defense Party used to call it. Intellectual masturbation, when you just over here trying to sound smart. We here to learn. We here to get that intelligence, right? So we can go to the next level. We can go evolve, metamorphosize ourselves, right? Semantics. Word meaning the word relations. So semantics is the relationship to words. Words, what is it? A synonym where it can be spelt the same. Y'all can fact check me on this. You know what I mean? It can be spelt the same but mean completely different things. So word meaning relations and conceptual semantics within studies, cognitive structure, and meaning. Cognitive have to do with the brain, specifically the frontal lobe of the brain and how you interpret information. And somebody could be saying all the right words, but are using them in a deceitful way. And that's what semantics are. You can pick out your words, you use them in a misleading way, or you use them to throw people off. It's the same thing with sabotage. It kind of can be considered gaslighting if you really know how people use semantics, right? I've seen it in the past election, how they use semantics, and I'm gonna be quite frank with y'all. They use semantics against the black man, and because a lot of black men was talking about voting for Trump because they believe, of his rhetoric, his bravado. A lot of things that he was saying, he was making logistical sense, and a lot of brothers are logic based. But you got to read between the lines and some stuff. Let's just be honest. A lot of stuff that's being deployed, what's going on right now, is harmful to us if we don't get on our stuff. Now, I do believe two negatives can make a positive. So I'm not going to go too much into that. But what I'm saying is semantics and how they use don't mind me, man. I'm in the East right now. You feel me? You hear them slapping outside, man. That's just culture behind us, right? That's culturally aesthetic. We're gonna add that to the podcast. But back to semantics, you can say things a different way, but people can perceive it in a cognitive way differently. All right, cool. Let's go to the next one. Bureaucracy. Oh man, bureaucracy. It is the system of meaning and organization by strictly following fixed routines and procedures. It is a system of managing an organization by strictly following fixed routines and procedures. Some of y'all are a part of, run, or work, or do whatever in a bureaucratic state. It can be looked at as a pyramid scheme where somebody's at the top managing the organization by strictly following routines and procedures. So when your intelligence come in and something and you have to interject, they don't want to do it because they say there's no room for that. But they'll hire you on the job and be like, Oh, we want someone creative. We want someone X, Y, and Z. Okay, they don't really want that because usually creative people cannot be controlled. And creative people will not go by fixed routines and procedures. Now, I understand fixed routines and procedures when it comes to safety, when it comes to certain things. But when you're running your whole organization like that and there's no room for originality, we have a problem. All right. That is the Say Your Piece podcast. But let me tell y'all this. All right. Really look at how we are external validating our character. Really look at in our lives, are we making things up? Right? Don't make shit up. Are we adding to the psychic pollution every day? Sorry, y'all. Springtime. Are we adding to the psychic pollution every day? Right? Propaganda. What is the propaganda being used against you? Group thinking. Are you critically thinking about ideas that has been placed on you by social media, your family, your outside people, your peers? Huh? Are you really critically thinking about that? Again, another plug. 4 agreements help me so much, right? Be impeccable with your words. Pick your words. Okay? Like I said in the beginning, what you say you're gonna do. Or if you're in a situation and you don't want to escalate it and you want to disarm and diffuse the situation, what you have to do is pick your words and be impeccable with them. Don't take anything personally. You don't. I'm sorry. Unless it's really at your front door, come to your doorstep, trying to physically, spiritually, or mentally harm you in your face, that's when you get active. But don't take this shit personally. People be weird. This world can be weird. This world can be the Twilight Zone sometimes. Social engineering. We read the technical definition, how they program computers is the same way how they program in our youth. It's the same way how I was programmed. It's the same way everybody else was programmed. Confirmation bias. Check on the things, check the other side, because when you go in the argument and to state your case about anything, if you know both sides, you better equipped to win. When I defended myself in court to keep my apartment, one thing I didn't know, a piece of intelligence that was left out, that both parties see my evidence. I had a check that was signed by the landlord that said the rent was for this much. He put a 3-day notice on my door and said they went up on the rent, but he signed the check for the original price, and he was trying to kick me out. So intelligence was out. My confirmation bias was that I had the original check for the original money that he didn't take, so I was going to argue that in court. But I didn't look at the other side. I didn't look at it from all angles. I should have did my research and figured out that both parties have to have the evidence when you go in court. George Washington Carver said the same price it takes to make the $1 bill, the same price it takes to make the $100 bill. Everything is getting exposed under capitalism right now. It's falling. It's falling. Start bartering. Start doing more. Start building your own. Because materialism is going to take a new shape and a new form, and we see that. Intelligence, I just spoke about it. People can sabotage you by leaving things out. Intelligence is most likely, you know what I mean? When you're from the town, when you're from us, it's game. Dropping jewels, it's that ism. Semantics. People using wordplay to try to get in your head, to cognitively mess with you, but sound like they like a wolf in sheep clothing, but sound like they with you. This is deceitful. They use semantics to argue, right? Bureaucracy, fixed routines and operation of an organization. Does those fixed routines align with what your morals are? Are you compromising it for money? That's terms and agreements. Is Say Your Piece with your host Swerve. Come back every Friday, 8 a.m. and get this word.